Okay, there we go.
All right.
All right. So it's so nice to virtually meet you, Lori.
You
I've been waiting to talk to you and to ask you questions for a very long time, but I wanted to do this maker interview for the global Ocarina community and for everybody watching. Let's just start off with a little bit of who we are. I'm Nicholas, also known as Ocarina Owl, and I like to post videos on YouTube and on a lot of social medias just to promote awareness of the ocarina, teach others about it, tell others how to play it, some good techniques, and share whatever knowledge I have of the instrument. Um, and let's tell others. Can you tell others just a little bit about yourself?
All right. Well, I'm Lori. I've been making ocarinas, well, helping to make ocarinas since 1999, and I started doing it for a solo making about 5 years ago. And I go to different Renaissance fairs and craft shows, and that's where I take my ocarinas. And I love to play. I really enjoy what you do on your YouTube channel and everything. That's really neat what you do for the ocarina community. And goodness, I like to play ocarina. That's what I say.
Me too. I think a lot of us on that Facebook group that we have there really enjoy playing Ocarina and just get to the details of like promoting it and like knowing what's like really good practice. A lot of people have come with questions about, hey, what Ocarina should I get? Some people that are just really interested in Ocarina. So that's been all awesome. So I love that you say I love to play Ocarina. I think it's very good for a maker to enjoy that because when a maker likes to play ocarina, usually that translates into their art because making is an art. And I'm not a maker myself, just a big disclaimer. So I've noticed that makers that do enjoy playing themselves too, their ocarinas are just so nice to be able to play on. And also, big disclaimer: I've never gotten to play on one of your ocarinas, but I've always wanted to.
I need to send you one. I've never been where I actually have extra. It's either I'm at a show and running out or I'm doing something else completely. So,
When is your
well,
next show?
actually, I have one that I'm not sure that I'm into yet, but it's in a couple of weeks up near Austin.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
yeah, it's like a Viking solstice festival, I think. I've
Very
done it before.
cool.
It was very neat. I did it 2 years ago before the pandemic, and it was really neat. Enjoyed
Does it happen during the summer solstice?
it. It does. And then there's another one during the winter solstice, and they have a fire. So it's really neat.
Very cool. That sounds very exciting. Okay.
And I like up. So, that's that's it's the best job.
I love that. I have not been to a lot of fairs. It sounds like you have a lot of experience through doing your. And I'll ask this question in a minute, but it asks like it sounds like you have a lot of experience selling at fairs, like art fairs and trade shows and Renaissance fairs, whereas a lot of makers usually sell online. What is your favorite way to sell your ocarinas? I'll make that my question number one, even though it was question number three.
Face to face for sure. I really love people have no idea what the ocarina is. They think it's a pet rock. They come up and they say, "What is this?" Or "Are you selling pet rocks?" I'm like, "No." And then and then actually getting people who never thought they would play a musical instrument to pick it up and try. Yeah, which I'm not sure I can do that anymore. But I gotta. Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. No worries. You're okay.
My phone's running out of battery. I gotta fix that real
Okay,
fast.
no worries. You take care and fix that real quick, and we'll continue our question in just a minute.
I have a full charge, but you never know. Okay,
I
maybe.
understand. No worries. So the other question I was gonna ask you too, Lori, I don't know if you could still hear me, but the other question I was gonna ask was, um, what style of ocarina do you specialize in? I know a lot of makers kind of make lots of different styles. And from what I've seen on your Instagram page, which is mainly where I've seen your work, and also a little bit on Facebook, I've seen on both. Um, your work. I've seen a lot of really beautiful six-hole ocarinas. What do you enjoy making as an ocarina maker?
I don't make the 10 to 12 hole flute. My goal as an ocarina maker is to make a flute that is less expensive, that anybody can play. That's more of a beginner, first start out and play the ocarina. When you have that 6 hole flute, you can do that. And plus, that's how I was taught. I learned from my husband, who served an apprenticeship, who served it with a master ocarina maker, who served an apprenticeship way back into who knows how long. And I was taught to make the 6 hole flute. So
Wow,
I've been wanting to try to attempt to make the 10 hole or 12 hole flute, but I haven't gotten quite to that place yet.
that's very, very cool. I
Yeah.
love knowing the background of how you got into ocarina. I guess that translates to another one of my questions that I have right
Mhm.
here. Um, how did you hear about the ocarina, and what was the experience that got you into ocarina first and then into ocarina making?
Well, I kind of did both at once. Um, I met my husband, or well, my late husband, a long time ago, back in 1999. I was at a Garden in the Heights at a St. Patrick's Day festival. And I walked past. The way he tells it, he said, "You'd be even prettier if you smiled." And I smiled, and he knew. But that's such a line, and I'm really glad I didn't hear it. I just, he said something to me, and then went, you know, like that, and I was just like, ah. And so I walked back around and sat on the other side, and he invited me to come play. And then we talked all night. And 2 weeks later, I dropped out of college, packed up my apartment, and went on the road with him.
Wow.
Yeah, we had a kid. We lived in a van and then a camper. Um, at first, I just did the design work. And then I started making bodies because we needed somebody to make the bodies so he can make the flutes. And eventually, I learned how to make them.
That's
Just
amazing. I love that. Well, I by even just by the sound samples and the samples that I've heard of your work, I've always really enjoyed the tone quality that you bring out of your ocarinas. Yeah, that leads me to one other question that I have for you.
Mhm.
Um, I was gonna ask you, in your experience as an ocarina maker, what do you notice brings out the best tone in an instrument?
Oh, that's rough. That's hard. That's hard to say. It's hard to figure out too. Um, I almost I almost feel the sound quality instead of hearing it. It kind of feels like, this can sound weird, but when I was a little girl, there used to be these bubbles. They were called plastic bubbles, and they came in a little squid, like a toothpaste thing, and you'd take a straw and you blow into it, and they'd make these little plastic bubbles that didn't pop unless you squished them. And that's what the good sound quality sounds like or feels like when I'm playing it. And then that just kind of elastic plastic thing. And then the breathier ones don't sound like that. And I try to go away from the breathier ones. I try to, whenever I do that, I try to adjust the fipple and
Mhm.
do whatever I can to make it not sound breathy, because I don't like that as much.
I
Because
completely
the real thing
understand
is
that.
the sparkle. Yeah.
Yeah,
And adjusting this part right here, the little whistle,
yeah.
the little whistle right there. It's adjusting this. If there's any tiny little thing in there, the tiniest little bit of tiny minuscule piece of clay, it can mess up the whole sound quality. And there are a lot of flutes that I just, once they're done, throw them on the ground because they're not good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I understand that. I've seen that from a couple of makers too. I just like you, I'm very partial to pure sounding ocarinas. Um, I am biased towards a pure tone, but I have also seen others that really enjoy a chaffy, earthy tone. I
Mhm,
personally prefer the pure tone because I feel like that really like that sound quality is unique to vessel flutes and to ocarinas. And I
mhm,
really enjoy whenever a maker takes the time to really, really, it's almost like I don't have the words to explain it, but it's almost like they decode the best way with their hands to be able to mold that windway, that fibble that you were
mhm,
talking about, just to mold it into such an acoustically pure tone, and that's the ocarina making that I really enjoy and prefer. So that's awesome. Do you have
mhm.
a sound sample you could show us from some of your ocarinas?
Um, there's one I made. And I'm not saying that some of mine are breathy. That's my goal, not my every time. But
Hmm.
that's one of my larger ones. Let's see. Let me get
Do
down
you
into
know
the
what
little.
key that one is in? The one that you just
Now,
showed?
I do not make them in a specific key. That's part of my music for everybody.
Hmm.
I whatever the lowest note is, I tune up from there. So it
Okay.
may be somewhere in between C and B flat, it may be somewhere right in there. I am looking to be able to figure out exactly what to do to make it into to a perfect, to make it one in the key of C and one in the key, but
Hmm.
I have not had the time to sit there and write down exactly what I do to make it to do that. I don't make the mold made flutes where you have a certain amount on the inside, that
Hmm.
makes it a certain key. I
Okay.
make each one of them by hand. So
Cool. Awesome.
here's like, see, and that's one of the kind of transverse, but it's a 4 hole on top, one on the bottom. And I
Very
do make
cool.
5 hole flutes, not so much 6 hole flutes.
I
Um,
understand.
they
Can
go, they
can I
go.
see the back of that one again?
Let's see. Oh, can you see?
That's
I'm good.
awesome. Yes. That's very
Yeah.
cool. I love the design of it. It has some
Thank
of
you.
the ridges and wedges. It looks very unique.
Thank you. Yeah. I've been doing the design work a lot longer than I've been doing making the flute itself. Um, I'm really enjoying making the flute itself, but I really am a new ocarina maker solo. I've only been making them for about 5 years, but I'll make them for a little while and then I have to go back to work. So, and this
Understandable.
last year I've made maybe 5 this last year. But I just had my last day at work yesterday. So I'm doing ocarinas for a while. And then it's
Yay,
like,
that's
yeah,
awesome. I'm
I should
excited for you.
similar. Yeah.
That's very cool. Um, I love looking at the design of the three that you showed me. Can you
Mhm.
show me the second one? Can you show us the second one more time to
This
take a
one,
look at what it looks
that
like?
one.
Yes, that's a tree. That's what I thought.
Yeah, that's the tree. And I have some like that are not fired yet, which
Okay,
got that one.
what symbol is that one
That's a
on this
triskel. It's
one?
a Celtic knotwork. So it's
Very
at that end.
cool.
Can it's a little one.
That sounds like
And,
a bass or a tenor. That's very cool. I love
and
it.
then see, I've been making just some plain whistles just to warm up lately.
Hmm.
And they just a whistle. But yeah, and that's what I've been doing
That's
lately. I
very
have
cool. I I have a lot of questions that I'm thinking about, but I have to stick to the questions that I wrote down.
okay,
Um,
okay, okay.
I'm gonna ask you one question that I didn't write down. Can you show us the first one more time, if you don't mind, real quick? The first one that
Yeah,
you showed, that really tiny one with the pure
yeah.
sound quality. Yes, that's so. Those are the ones that I'm the most used to seeing. That I've seen on your pages, I've seen them
Mhm.
mostly that pendant size, almost kind of sounds like a soprano B flat or a
Mhm.
soprano C. Um,
Mhm.
and I just wanted to ask you, um, is there like a is there an ocarina that if you were to like do you make them, first of all, before I ask you that question, do you make them with a mold or
No,
do you make them just by hand?
I make them by hand. My two hands, I do this. I press them out, put them together. Um, then these aren't the pendant style, but this is like an ocarina body before
Hmm.
anything gets done to it. That's what I was just making when you called. Right there. So
Very
that's
cool.
yeah,
Love
and
it.
yeah, I make them completely by hand. There's no mold at all.
Amazing. So, the other question that I have, now that I know that you make them by hand, is there a default kind of like style? Like, if there was like some sort of um, one ocarina type that is like the one that you most default to or make, not
Hmm.
necessarily that you default to, but like the one that is almost like, it's almost like natural, like you just subconsciously um make that um style of ocarina. Would it be like the first one that you showed me?
The first one is how I was taught to make them.
Okay.
So that's my default. It's just the round. Well, like the base one, I usually the three I was taught to make like
Hmm.
um, this size, which is the same thing, just bigger, and then one in the middle. So yeah,
I see.
and I'm
Okay.
and then these other ones are just kind of so many people wanted the transverse that I just started making it when I started making them by myself.
Hmm.
So many people asked for it, and my husband wouldn't do it, and I was like, I'll do it. You know, it's cool. We either way. Yeah, I'm not gonna be a purist about it.
So, gosh, okay, I have another question. I know I said I'd go to
Okay,
my other.
you can do whatever. I'm
When
not going anywhere.
when you said that those are that's the style that you were taught, um,
Hmm.
Spirit Song Ocarina is the name of your ocarina store, like your vendor name, Spirit Song Ocarina.
Hmm.
Um, if you were to like describe yourself as like what you kind of specialize in, what how would you describe your ocarinas to somebody that um, hasn't ever heard of an ocarina, or so to and or to another person that has heard of ocarinas, how would you describe your ocarinas?
Oh, that's something. That's kind of a two-part thing because
Mhm.
first of all, you said spirit song and you
Sorry,
wanted
that
to
was a
know
lot.
about
I'm
that.
sorry.
Yeah, no. Well, the thing is, my husband's business was Firestone, and the man who taught him was Wind Song, and then he had another student who was Earth Tone. So that's why I went, Earth, Air, Fire, and then I thought, well, what's another? There weren't any left, and then I thought, oh yeah, Spirit, because that's the fifth um, traditional element or whatever. So that's what I was going for, kind of the spirit of what my husband and I did together, but doing it on my own.
Very
And
beautiful. I
then
love that.
and then the other one, how to describe ocarinas, I just basically say it's a flute that can, or a whistle that can play a scale when no one's ever heard of it before. And then I'll usually say, like Zelda, Ocarina of Time, and people say, "Oh, that happens a lot." To somebody who knows about ocarinas, I usually tell them that I do not make concert quality ocarinas. That's not. There are other makers out there that make absolutely beautiful ones, and maybe someday I will. But right now, my goal is just to make a flute for anyone. Anyone who has the fingers and the breath can play the ocarina. That's really my goal for it. I want them to have a really good sound quality. That might take some time, but I'm getting so much better and better as the time goes on. So hopefully they're pretty good. I
I
hope
really
they're
love
okay.
the sound quality of the ones that you've shown me, and I think out of all of them, both the first one that you showed me
Hmm.
and the one that had like the bass like sounds, those are
Hmm.
my favorite. They have a really pure tone, and I told you I'm biased and partial to pure tones. That's
Hmm.
what I like when I shop or listen to an ocarina. So definitely, it's in the books that I need to go to your store and go support you. That's the thing I was going to ask you too. Another question that I did have written down here was how can people get your ocarinas if they don't live in Texas, which is where you're based off? Um,
Hmm.
how can they still acquire a Spirit Song ocarina if they wanted one?
Well, I am always on Instagram if you want to contact me that way. I can do that. I also have a website. There are sometimes things up there when I have a lot. I don't always have time to load things into my store, but you can also contact me through there if you don't see anything. It's just spiritsongocarinas.com. So just the name.com.
Very cool. I love it. All right. So, for anybody listening, her Instagram page, I'm pulling it up right now, is the same Spirit Song
Yeah.
Ocarinas. Um,
Hmm.
and is it okay if I say the name too?
Yeah, I'm like
This is
Bletsch.
what the page
Yeah.
looks like. I'm going to try to say your last name correctly. I hope I do. I'm sorry.
Bletsch. Bletsch.
Say it again.
It's awful.
Okay.
Bletsch. Yeah.
Lori Bletsch, and
Hmm.
she is on Instagram as Spirit Song Ocarinas. Love it, very cool. I always rush whenever I see you upload a new picture. I rush to like it because I enjoy some of the
Aw.
designs that you make. I had a question that was really unique to the ocarinas that you've shown me, and is
Mhm.
I've noticed sometimes you like really work with like pure clay. Um, and I noticed that like some of the clay ones that you make, um, I have never held them or like touched them. Um, but
Mhm.
my question was, do you use any like finishes or anything to coat them?
Okay, so I do smoke firing, which means that I only have to fire the flutes once, one time, and then
Okay,
I
got it.
take them out. It's crazy. I take them out while they're still glowing red hot, and I put them on the end of a long stick, right? And I take them out and balance it over and put them into either a pit in the ground or like a metal trash can sometimes to be safer, filled with leaves and or paper scraps or wood chips, and that's what gives the color. And that's a natural finish that's been around for, it's an ancient finish. And I really like to play with it because depending on what you put in there, it makes different colors. It's usually in the browns, blacks, grays, but sometimes you get almost metallic if it's hot enough in the right place. And I have no control over it, no real control. It's just whatever comes out, comes out. But it goes from anything from like these really dark ones, like my little one, to say like this one didn't get much of it, so it's just red clay. It's kind of
It has
got the brown.
dragon. That's so cool.
Yeah, that's my little.
Could you play it for us? Very cool. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. That I make a few big ones. I had a request for a big one, and I'm trying to make them bigger and bigger because there's a lady who wants one that's like that, and it collapses. A lot of those fail, so
Mhm.
you have to make a lot to get the big ones
I
because
understand.
they'll collapse under their own weight.
I understand. That's man, that's a lot to think about right there, especially when you describe your process for making them. Um, so okay, um, I have about two last questions, um,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
let me pull up my page again because I
Okay.
pulled it down. But so far, I've one learned a lot about ocarina making so far, and two have enjoyed listening to some ocarinas that I never heard before that you make. Um, I guess one of my favorite things about the way you make your ocarinas is the artistic design that you put on them. um, Sometimes I notice like almost like no two ocarinas are ever the same, which is something that I really, think is cool and awesome about it. Um, what? is what are your designs like, and like what can somebody expect for your designs to look like? And last question, what what options do people have for custom ordering if they wanted a custom made ocarina? That was
Okay,
three questions.
well, yeah,
Sorry.
2 questions. The custom made ocarinas, I done whatever people ask, basically. I usually, if it's really complex, I say I can't do that on a tiny one, but that's about really the only limitation. I can usually do something, if someone sends me a design, I can usually do it. Um, I about what they can expect from my designs. I've been doing this for a long time, so I kind of have some basic go-to things like that wind pattern. I'll do that. The one like this, kind of, I'll do different versions of that, but that just depends on the shape of the ocarina. And then, like, sometimes this is kind of a standard, this tree, but also it's gone through many variations because I don't want it to be uh, the same. Everyone is unique, I hope.
Mhm.
Um, and like, I think this is one of my other standard designs, like part of that and part of the other. I'll do that. But yeah, I just like to play with it. That's almost my favorite part because that's what I've been doing. Well, I started in 1999 doing designs, so I've been doing designs for a long time. I don't know. Did that answer the question? I have no idea.
Yeah. Um, I did
Yeah.
have one, I guess, one follow up from that, just because I did
Mhm.
give you three questions at the same time. Sorry, but in my
Thank you.
notes, I just ask what guides your design of ocarina making. So you answered the other two, but I just want to ask again, um, if you're like if you were thinking about spirit song ocarinas and you had just a blank ocarina and a customer just said surprise me, what guides your
Yeah.
design for an ocarina?
I like I'm very into symbols, very simple symbols, ancient symbols. I really like the more ancient it looks, I like that. I like to pair that with the ocarina because it is such an old instrument. Even if the style I make is more modern, they've been making ocarinas since for thousands of years. And I like to think that you could you could see one of my ocarinas and not know if it were modern. I think that's something that guides me for sure. And yeah, and I really like symbols. I like to work those in there, just because they have meaning to people, and people will come up to it and say, "Oh, that's mine," and I'm like, "Oh, is it?" you know, and sometimes it is. And that's
That,
actually how my first ocarina was. I looked at one of my husband's. He said, and I said, "Oh, that's mine." Right away. It was a leaf, but it was neat. I was like, "Oh, that's mine." He said, "It's yours," and he gave it to me back then. That's really sweet.
that's awesome. I love that answer. I love that it's almost like sometimes whenever you explain your process for making the ocarinas and you explain a little bit more about your background, um, I kind of get the feeling that like a lot of the times you enjoy these like almost like ancestral ways of making these vessel flutes and these ocarinas. Um, and it's really cool to know that almost like your aesthetic also goes with that. And I think that they pair together very, very well. And when I looked through your Instagram page and I looked through all the different designs that you make, like I said, there's not like one or two that are the same, which is really unique, and I love that. And I also like see so many intricate symbols, like just like engraved into each individual one. Like for instance, there's this one with a dragonfly right here. That's
Oh
really
yeah,
truly unique.
thank you.
I've never
Yeah.
seen an ocarina with a dragonfly, so that's
Oh
awesome.
really? I've been doing dragonflies in different ways. Um, well, for a long time, when I first started, it was stick figures. I mean, absolutely like a little dude with his hands like this. That was it. I didn't know how to do art, but I had to because we were on the road and it was my job. And, I didn't want people to like buy ocarinas that were ugly. So I had to learn really fast. And I liked the symbols. So, and that's good because they're simple lines. And then as the years went by, I was able to take those symbols like the dragonfly, which is pretty simple. It's like 4 lines and some dots. It's not something hard, but then being able to incorporate it into other things like with the river and the cattails, or go with stars or go with whatever. It's fun.
Love it. What advice would you give to an ocarina maker that's like wanting to get started, somebody that's interested in ocarina making? What would you tell them like would be their first steps if they've never made an ocarina before, but they're really interested in the art of ocarina making?
there is a there are a few YouTube videos that show you how to make ocarinas. I think the good one that I saw was like Sixth Street. There they had a whole tutorial on how to make ocarinas, and it was really good. I mean, it's not exactly how I make them, but it's close. Um, I actually learned a lot from watching it myself because they use different techniques that I did. But the main thing with ocarinas is you don't just try to make one. Make 20 on your first try, and don't worry if the first 5 don't even make sound. And I mean, my first ocarinas, they were terrible, and everybody's are going to be. But the more you make them, like once you get up to the hundreds, you start figuring out exactly what you did that one time. Oh, I can do that again, and that really helps you to learn how to make a good flute. And you can't you're going to make mistakes, and that's good. Just embrace it and keep going. Definitely.
I appreciate that a lot. Thank you for that answer. And I guess my last question for you before I let you go is um, in the ocarina community, we have like a way of promoting the ocarina or a way of thinking of really like how to grow the ocarina community.
Mm-hmm.
And from festivals such as Budrio, like the Italy Ocarina Festival, or the US Ocarina Festival, or even the Latin American Ocarina Festival, there's been this discussion of there's many groups that help promote the ocarina, but
Mm-hmm.
the three main groups that really help promote it the most are makers, ocarina teachers, and
Mm-hmm.
also ocarina influencers, people that
Yeah.
play like David Eric Ramos or like
Yeah.
Rachel Wilson that are very
There you
streaming.
go. I was gonna say the girl. Yeah.
Say it again.
I just recognize her. Yeah.
Oh
Okay.
yes, oh yes.
And David too. I've known about him for a long time. He's been around almost as long as I have, for sure, maybe longer.
Yep, definitely, definitely. And so those three groups, I'll say them one more time, just for my question. Um, ocarina makers, ocarina teachers, and ocarina influencers. And it's almost like they make this triangle, or a maker produces very high quality ocarinas. Um, an educator teaches people how to the best practices, because I'm an
Mm-hmm.
ocarina educator. I teach ocarina for a living. I've done that for about 7 years. Um, and then an influencer is able to inspire others and get the word out about what an ocarina is and why it's important. So keeping these three groups in mind, I know there's many more. Like there's people who write music for ocarina. There's an entire like web of people that help.
Yeah.
But keeping in mind those three main groups for the sake of this question, um,
Okay.
how would you say why would you say it's important to support an ocarina maker, especially ones that are like um, handcrafted and maybe like you make their ocarinas by hand, whether they use a mold or whether they make each one by hand? Why is it important to support them?
I would say it's important to support them for the same reason it's important to support art in general. There are skills that are um, there are skills that are going to be lost if you're not able to make a living doing them, or at least have the time to be able to make them. So that is a very important thing to keep people being able to make them. That's good. And yeah, it's the same as supporting the arts in general. It's important for people because it's part of the human condition. Just to be able to make is important. And I like it. I like being able to, I think the most important part of like the maker customer relationship is that it's collaborative art. I make art so that you can go make art, and that's what I enjoy the most. And I hope that anybody who does support me, if I'm lucky enough, they go on to make amazing things, even if it's not with my ocarina. If it's just like it gets them into music, or it shows them that hey, they can try something new and go try something else, and that's really great. I think that's part of the making the world a better place. So yeah,
That's
I
awesome.
feel like it's important.
I can appreciate that a lot. I agree with you, and I also think it's very important to be able to support makers. I think so because I think it helps grow the ocarina community. I think it's really important for people who are, especially small makers, to be able to. It empowers them to continue doing what they do and continue making high
Mm-hmm,
quality instruments for people. And one of the things, like you mentioned, like having an ocarina for every person or for any person, no matter
mm-hmm,
like what the size of their fingers are, or like um, no matter what their musical background, whether they have musical background or they don't, having a high
mm-hmm.
quality, pure sound ocarina with a comprehensive, good fingering system and good ergonomics is always a really, really valuable thing, in my opinion.
That's neat. As a teacher, yeah, you would know about that a lot. Um, yeah, you said it a lot better than I did. Yeah, that's kind of what I was getting at, though. Yeah, it's important
I just
because it.
appreciate what y'all do. I don't think I could ever be a maker because I don't
Ah,
know. I
you'll
don't
go
have
far.
the artistic design down and all the stuff that y'all make, because I've seen some incredible artistic designs and I admire what makers do. Love it so much.
I'm telling you, stick figures is how I started out, and my ocarina bodies were like wobble ball that you couldn't even make sense. He had to throw half of them away. I mean, anybody can do it if you really love something. Do it over and over, and you can. I think. I think that's the way to do it.
Absolutely. I think that's a great message. Um, it's in my books now that I have to get one of your ocarina, so I'm very excited. I will be messaging you later.
Okay, well, I
I'm
will
very
send you.
excited
I will
about
make.
that.
Yeah, you decide what kind you want too.
Mm, that's a
Yeah.
good question. I'm really interested in the pendant style, like the smaller pendant style that you showed
Mm-hmm.
me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm interested in that one. It reminds me of another one of my friends who also makes ocarinas. Um, and I just have to think a little bit about the design, because if you said that you offer custom ones,
Oh yeah, I
I'm very
love doing
partial.
custom work. That's my favorite. I love doing custom work. Yeah.
I'm very partial to seeing maybe what we could do. So that would be awesome. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I want to just take a minute to thank you for your time and remind everybody of how to be able to get in contact with you if they want to order one of your ocarinas as well. So again, um, your name is.
Lori Bletsch.
Thank you, thank you. Sorry, English is my second language, so I sometimes struggle with words.
It's nobody can get that name right. It's fine. I used to be Lori James. Everybody was able to say my name. Now no one can.
Gotcha. I will appreciate that. And your Instagram account is Spirit Song Ocarinas, and your the name of your website. Can you say that once again for us?
Also, Spirit Song Ocarinas. It's just spiritsongocarinas.com.
Awesome.
Mhm.
Well, thank you so much for your time, and thank you for coming to this interview. I'm so excited
Well,
to see what y'all think in the comments. Please leave us a comment and any questions for Lori as well.
mhm.
Really appreciate your time and appreciate your expertise in ocarina making. So thank you,
Yeah.
thank you, thank you. And I hope you have a great night.